Hi there, and welcome back to our regular Fuel Arts online webinar series, where we're mixing the two worlds together, the world of creative tech and venture capital. My name is Denis Belkovich. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fuel Arts. And with me, Sonia Stubblebine, the head of projects at Fuel Arts.
Hi, Dennis. Very excited about this webinar. Let's invite our guests.
Sure. As you know, starting from last week, we started exploring the Miami tech ecosystem, the Miami startup ecosystem. For those who know, Miami is considered to be the epicenter of creative tech of the US and probably of the world. So our second meeting with the Miami-based startup, let's welcome our guest, Vlada Lotkina, the founder and CEO of ClassTag. Hi, Vlada.
Hi, guys. Great to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Let us do a quick recap of who you are, and then you'll add what we might have missed. So, Vlada is a serial entrepreneur, a SaaS CEO and founder, growth expert, and a startup mentor. So she brought ClassTag, the school family communication platform, uniting over 5 million of parents, teachers, and administrators. She brought it to success from idea to exit. So today we have a person who has an exit experience, exit in Miami. So, and also Vlada won numerous awards and recognitions, including the top 20 women leading the education industry by American Consortium for Equity in Education, and many others. And Vlada is a proud Miamian, but she is also a proud Ukrainian. So let's move forward. And our first question towards you would be quite a traditional for our Miami series. Why has Miami consistently attracted disruptive technologists and entrepreneurs? What's your vision?
That's a great question. I certainly, I think that a lot has changed, right? I don't know how consistent it was way back when, but certainly there's been a number of catalysts with COVID that had a lot of birds like myself fly to Miami. Frankly, when COVID unfolded in New York, and at the time I lived right by Times Square, and the birds were singing, and it felt like aliens were about to descend. I felt that it was the right time to leave New York, and so I started looking for the better place to land, and Miami was frankly an obvious choice because of the thriving tech ecosystem, because of just a positive environment. Entrepreneurs work so hard, and so in those spare moments that we don't work, it's good to have higher quality of life and have more places to explore nature and just be outdoors. And I think the combination of these things is really making Miami special. And I think that's why so many people come to Miami. I think there is also a belief that I think is quite faulty, which is that you can't really work hard in Miami. I don't think that's true. There are certainly a lot of people who don't work hard in Miami, don't get me wrong. And there is a joke that there are two types of people that meet at 5 a.m. in Miami. Those that are, highly driven individuals, waking up for a morning run and then, having a productive day, and those that are coming back from parties. And certainly there are both of these groups in Miami, but it is a great environment. There are a lot of great people. And I've just moved here and I haven't looked back.
Yeah, a great reply. It totally complies with my vision.
Thank you, Vlada. Also, we're wondering, what are the challenges that you faced when you became an entrepreneur? What are you ready to share with us today?
Sure. Well, there is no lack of challenges at every step. I think actually a funny story I have in that regard is that in my very early days with ClassTag, I met a fellow entrepreneur who became investor at the time, and she had an exit, and we met in a bar in New York, and I proudly showed her my deck, and I said, this is a great idea. This is what I'm pursuing. This is what I want to see in the world. And at the end of the meeting, she was completely unimpressed. And I was like, what's happening? Why are you not impressed by all this vision? And she said, well, if you move past this deck, you will already outperform 80% of people, right? And so I think that it just requires brute force, especially early days, to overcome everything is an obstacle in the early days, in particular when you don't have staff, when you don't have resources, when you need to find a co-founder, if you're especially not technical founder like myself, when you don't have funding, how do you go get to the first customers, how you sort of bring your first prototype to market. And so those challenges, they continue to persist. They just change a bit their faces, but fundamentally they still exist, whether it's with fundraising or growing and adjusting to the market trends and market needs. And certainly, I think just maybe getting ahead a bit into ClassTag journey. And it started from my own problem as a parent. When my daughter started school in New York City, and I saw how outdated and fragmented parent communication was. And so I really wanted to change it for myself and for the benefit of other families. And so we've built this amazing platform, but we had to pivot a number of times based on who has the actual budget and who is making decisions, and the changes that COVID brought, and really changing and redefining the landscape. And so there are changes and challenges that sort of you control, and those are the ones that I like to worry the most about. And then there are certainly challenges that you don't control. You just have to react.
Thank you, Vlada. My next question will be obviously regarding your product. So could you please provide some insights on ClassTag, like what's the business idea behind it and how did you identify your market fit?
Absolutely. Well, I got to where I got in life because I had supportive parents and great education. And I certainly understood when my daughter started school how critical that's going to be for her and for many other kids out there. I felt the technology or lack of thereof in schools just made it impossible. It's extremely fragmented. It comes in all bits and pieces in the bottom of the backpack with those flyers and emails. And there is a number of memes going around about how to be a parent without making it a full-time job, right? And it's difficult, especially if you have multiple kids and they're all in schools and you're just consuming hundreds of these bits and pieces of information and trying to make sense of it so you can be a great parent and supportive parent that your kid needs. And so I was facing the same challenge. At the time I was an executive at Dell. I was flying all over and I was missing everything. And I just really didn't want to continue this way as she went on and into elementary school and beyond. And so ClassTag is really that single place to get everything you need to be a great parent. It's really empowering parents and teachers to become partners in the kids' education and making that delightful and easy. And that comes with overcoming a number of barriers that exist. One of them is receiving communication in a preferred method by the parent, whether it's SMS, email, voice, etc. It also means overcoming language barriers. There is a huge population of non-English speaking families in Miami and elsewhere around the country, and certainly sending them a lot of information in English doesn't really help because they don't understand what is involved here, and then just really signal versus noise, right? There is a lot of noise in communication. We really wanted to combining not only communications but a lot of collaboration capabilities such as parent-teacher conference and event management and other things to really make it high signal opportunity where you as a parent don't need to make it a full-time job, and you just go in and say, okay, great, I do this, this, and this is how my kid is doing. And, you feel good about yourself. The kid is more successful as a result, and teacher's job is easier as well, because teachers have a whole full-time job beyond communicating with parents as well. And so that was the premise of ClassTag, and we built the platform, scaled it initially through teachers and sort of grassroots. The first 1,000 customers I think I got by hand in New York City through parents and others, and then beyond that we went traditional digital marketing route. So we didn't have a sales force, and majority of school-based solutions are very heavy school sales-based. And so we approach it more from a product-led perspective, built a really easy-to-use platform that can be picked up by any teacher, whether they're tech-savvy or not. They can invite parents, use it in their classroom, and then allow us to get deeper into their school communities through that advocacy from those initial adopters. And so that's how we grew ClassTag, and ultimately built an amazing consumer-grade, consumer-first platform that is quite revolutionary for the market, that is predominantly based on old school solutions. And so now I'm delighted for it to be part of School Status, which is a bigger company, also very robust analytics that really united with the parent engagement and analytics create an amazing opportunity for real student success platform. And that ClassTag mission is now bigger as part of this bigger network as well.
Thank you, Vlada, and thank you so much for telling your personal story, how you came up with this idea. I think it's very valuable for the audience as well. Also, would like to ask you more about your team. Could you tell us, like, how big is it actually, and how do you come up? Like, what's the hierarchy within your company? How do you make the decisions?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I would say about my team is that I was extremely lucky to find the best human and the best professional who became my co-founder and CTO. And as the luck had it, he was a parent in the same class in a preschool that my daughter went to. So we connected right there at the preschool class, and shared this journey of ups and downs and roller coasters in a startup together. It was invaluable to have someone who is so supportive and so brilliant. So that's kind of my early team. And then beyond that, we really were virtual from day one. And we hired across the world for the best people. And so it was interesting when COVID, for example, came, is that we were already fully virtual. And so that didn't require us to make any substantial adjustments, because everything was already set up to work in that remote environment. Our organization is really flat. I love diverse teams. In fact, we had 3 revenue streams, and everyone responsible for money in ClassTag was a woman. Beyond that, I love the idea of hiring great people and getting out of the way. And so I think the kinds of people that we have at ClassTag leading those divisions were exactly the kind of people that with alignment on the mission, alignment on the goals, they have a clear view of how, and they iterate fast, and they're really just amazing people with entrepreneurial mindset themselves. And I think that's the kind of people that you need in a startup environment to survive and to thrive.
Thank you. Yeah, my turn. So, Vlada, you recently went through a successful M&A process. Maybe someone might not know, but M&A means merge and acquisition. So you exited your startup. You sold it to the strategist. So, could you provide a deeper look on this, on your acquisition experience? I mean, how did you gather the interest of that strategist and the overall process? Maybe some tips on what stage a startup should start be bothering with finding a strategist and bothering with its exit strategy.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the unfortunate reality is that you can't go both paths at the same time, right? So you can't sell it and unsell it, right? You have to lean into your intuition and your view of the market and when is the right time. So I don't think it's a simple answer. It's a combination of where you are and where you want to be, and sort of what's happening in the market landscape. I would say if you're building something of value, you will start receiving those inbound emails at some point. And some of them are noise and just analysts trying to make their points in the CRM and show activity. And some of them are real. And so we certainly had a number of conversations, I would say, over the last probably 2-3 years, stemming from that. I think what became clear to me as we looked at the market landscape and how it shifted with COVID is that really all of a sudden the family engagement became one of the top priorities in districts across the country. While in the past, it was really left to individual teachers to make those decisions. And so as ClassTag evolved bottom up, we really felt that we have a choice strategically to go and build out that robust enterprise sales force and enterprise motion, or become part of a big organization that already has it established. And so I think that was really a big consideration for us in pursuing this. I think that if you look at sort of financial indicators, there are certainly a number of them. I think one, companies are bought for different reasons. One of them can be very valuable technology for someone who is strategic. And so typically, I think below $10 million in revenue, you're really looking only at strategic as opposed to financial buyers. And so they need to value something, either your user base or your technology, or some combination of thereof. And then beyond 10 million, there is a broader spectrum of buyers that might be buying you for purely financial reasons, such as private equity players themselves. And so in ClassTag case, we were growing and we had a healthy, profitable business, and it felt like the right time to kick off the process. It took us about 7 months of beginning to end. It's a process. If you want to do it right and by your shareholders, to make sure that you are really providing the best fiduciary, providing the best fiduciary responsibility and doing right by everyone involved. And so you need to have multiple people at the table. You need to have broad outreach, management meetings, and things like that. And then ultimately you get to the point of request for LOIs, which is the letter of intent. You would typically sign it only with one party because they demand exclusivity. And so there is an exclusivity term. And after you sign it, then there is a diligence process on the back end as well, where you really open up everything there is. Everything will be discovered and found. Something that you long forgotten would be exposed. And because we're all startups, obviously, it's important from a certain point on to have your things together and to have everything organized so that you really present a professional front for the potential buyers. And so I think now if you're thinking about your document management and how you're doing accounting and all of these things that might not be as important when you're fighting for survival in the early days, they will eventually be really important in the end. And so you either have to start right or get to the right path at some point before you consider those options, because certainly people want to buy, if you want to get a good valuation, they want to buy something that's professional, that's clean, and can justify a high valuation.
Thank you. I have a small additional question. Sometimes the founders include the option in the acquisition contract that they are staying in the company as CEOs, or even in some cases, the strategists are interested in leaving the original founder in the company, increasing him or her the salary, because from their perspective, only the person who could bring that into life could successfully manage that. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I think that's certainly very common, and it depends on what role your company is going to play in a combined entity. In ClassTag's case, the platform will be cornerstone of the bigger solution, and so it would be tightly integrated with the rest of the business. So if I were to stay the CEO of ClassTag, that would mean a really massive role inside, right? Because it's really embedded in the solution set, and so will be the core platform as to how parents and teachers and students will interact with the rest of the product set. And so in this case, there wasn't such pressure. I think there is been an understanding, and that we will facilitate successful integration, that we will ensure that everything is transferred, that the folks on the teams find the right places, and we find new opportunities within. But it wouldn't be necessarily the opportunity to be the CEO of ClassTag, because ClassTag is the core part of this new combined entity.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, after this exit, what are your future plans that you're ready to share with us today? Are you planning to establish something new, or are you planning to invest into the startups? Could you share something with us today?
Yeah, Sonia, I think that one of the major benefits of exit is that of course, you get some financial security, but you also have a rare opportunity to work only on things that you really love. And I think that spent my early days in a corporate career was high paying jobs, which many times I didn't love. I certainly loved my entrepreneurial journey, despite all the challenges that come with it. And I think that my heart is really in entrepreneurship and helping others become successful. So for the time being, I really love mentorship, and I'm doing it through a variety of platforms. I love the opportunity to lift others up. And so certainly a lot of folks that are reaching out, maybe they're raised some funding and they're looking for next steps, or both in education and beyond. There are just so many lessons learned that if I can help other founders avoid, I absolutely want to. And we'll see what the universe has in store. So I haven't particularly made up my mind yet. I'm staying open and hungry, and we'll see what happens.
Great. Could you please share, Vlada, whose experience as an entrepreneur inspires you, or maybe inspired you to do that? Was it a male entrepreneur or woman, or you do not separate one from others?
Yeah, that's a great question. I certainly don't separate one from the other. I think that there are leaders, and then there are not leaders. There are entrepreneurs and not entrepreneurs, or doctors and not doctors, and whatever else there is, right? I don't think a gender is a separation, or is a helpful separation from the perspective of helping that person actually succeed in whatever they chose to do. And so I think my early inspiration was certainly from my dad, who's an entrepreneur back in Ukraine. And in fact, despite the war, he is back in Kharkiv and just being there, which, you know, everything he's ever built is there. And so he's started multiple businesses and been a great inspiration for me in my early career and early days. He once told me that age is a disadvantage that disappears too quickly. And gosh, he was right. That taught me not to be afraid and step out of my comfort zone constantly. And I think in now who I'm inspired by, I think are people who really are living their purpose. I think there are a number of folks, both in tech and outside, that I can just see their energy and how much passion they have about what they do. And I think that passion is certainly contagious. I am addicted by that passion, and I think some of those folks can be Jason Lemkin in the SaaS world with SaaStr. What he's built, I think, is tremendous. I recently joined a program by Jen Gottlieb, which is called, actually forgot what it's called, but she recently launched her book, Be Seen. And so a lot of that is about how she moved from Broadway actress to actually being this inspirational speaker and business leader. And so I love folks like that who, when you see their eyes, you know they're living their purpose. And I certainly want to get there.
That's absolutely inspiring, I think, for everyone. And I feel everyone is trying to look for this kind of people to be inspired every day. Also, we do want to ask you during this webinar about presence of tech, of women in tech space in Miami. What is your comment on that? Do you see a lot of women in this sector? Are there a lot of people who are actually joining the sector in recent years?
Yeah, I would say overall, Miami tech scene is the most welcoming community I've ever seen. It's ridiculous. You go to, from day one, you go to events. I think they're called Tech Meetup. And it's held every week. And there's a lot of men and women who just came to Miami, and you certainly feel very welcome. There is a huge group and community for women in tech specifically, and other subgroups. So there are certainly number of communities and support for women. I probably have seen as many women in tech here as anywhere. There are not many. But I think it's a choice question. It's not a Miami question necessarily, but I certainly seen tremendous female leaders in Miami. And as I recently learned, Miami was actually founded by a woman. No, it wasn't.
No, I'm just very surprised. That's why I'm reacting. Could you tell us the story?
So it is the right place for female leadership, after all, when it was founded by one.
Beautiful example, very inspirational as well. I feel after this webinar, I'm gonna do research on the history of Miami.
Yeah, shame on me. I didn't know that Miami was created, was established by a woman, but
yeah, look it up.
But I know that from your native city, from Kharkiv, there are a lot of beautiful women and straightforward women and strong women who were born there. So that's what I know for sure. Regarding Miami, yeah, we have enumerated, we have found there at least 6 women in tech communities, and 4 of them dealing with creative tech. So we are running towards our last question. It's quite a traditional one. So if you could offer 3 pieces of advice to immigrant entrepreneurs looking to establish a startup in Miami, what would they be?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I never thought of myself as an immigrant entrepreneur. I think the beauty of US and cities like Miami or New York or Valley or San Francisco are that most people are transplant from somewhere, whether far or near. And so I would generally drop the mindset of being an immigrant or being a woman or being anything, right? You are who you are, and you shine your light in a unique way based on your combination of experiences. I would say, so that would be my first piece of advice, is just don't put yourself in a box, and don't only stay within community that you're a part of, whether it's Ukrainian speaking or Spanish speaking, Portuguese speaking, etc. So be part of a broader ecosystem and broader community. I think that's number one. Number two is generally when you move to any new place, and I've done a number of moves in my life, I think it's all about building that network. And to build a network, it's about giving first and then receiving. And so I think that's a very valuable mindset. When you meet people, think about how you can be helpful to them before you start expecting something from them. And those things can be very simple, from a word of encouragement to some introduction, to maybe suggestion for a helpful tool or resource or whatnot. And of course, some introductions if you already have those connections yourself. So that would be my second advice. And the third piece of advice, I would also say that it's important to be connected to a few folks and build your sort of smaller circle of support, because entrepreneurial journey can be a very lonely one. And certainly I've been blessed to find some amazing friends in Miami who I can call on at any moment, and they can do the same with me. And certainly I think that in Ukraine, growing up in Ukraine, we think of friendship as almost sisterhood, or we think of it as almost a family. And so I certainly encourage all the Americans out there that this friendship exists, and I want them to feel and experience it. But I certainly think that knowing how to be a friend and really building that close support network, especially of folks who are also entrepreneurs who you are on a shared journey with, will go a long way. Because many times if you're, let's say, I'm an entrepreneur and working a lot, and if all my community are folks that can't relate to those challenges or can't lift me up or challenge me to reach higher and set my bar higher, that's not going to be a very nurturing and productive environment for my growth. And so I think that small circle you have to think about very carefully, because that's, as they say, you are the average of 5 people you spend most time with. And I think that's certainly very true. And there are plenty of people to choose from in Miami, including in Miami, and make sure you choose wisely.
Thank you. That was really a great experience communicating with you, and I believe that our today's listeners will pay more attention towards ClassTag, not only as, to follow your entrepreneurship experience with a successful exit, but also as customers, because all the parents need it, all the teachers need it, and all the students, all the pupils need it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vlada, so much for sharing your personal experience today as an entrepreneur, but also I personally got inspired by your tips and how you shared your journey and what you said, especially answering the last questions about, tips you would give to people who are just starting. I think that's very beautiful, and I hope our audience greatly enjoyed the webinar.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you again, and we'll meet in a while, in a week, with one of the disruptors of the art world. Let's see the example of the vending machine for art. We're not disclosing the name at the moment, neither the name nor the business model, but let the vending machine for art inspires you to join us in a week. It's also a Miami-based startup. See you, and we wish you great weather, like today in Miami. Though it's windy, but it's cool. It's the wind of change.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.